Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we try to cut through all the noise, the endless information coming at you, and really zoom in on the insights that can make a difference.
It's easy to get overwhelmed, isn't it? Just tab after tab online, endless things to read.
Exactly. And you just wish someone could connect the dots, find the core idea. That's what we aim for here. So today, we're diving into something really, well, fundamental. Gratitude. But maybe not the way you usually think about it.
Right. Not just the quick thanks we say.
No, something deeper.
Yeah.
We're looking at its power, how it really shows up in our lives. Our source material today is quite powerful. It's a sermon.
From a church service, yeah. Delivered on what they call Barley Harvest Thanksgiving Sunday.
Which is Chorin in Korean. And it unpacks this really compelling Bible passage about healing and, well, about thankfulness.
It's a fascinating story.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission, really, is to explore this idea that popped out from the sermon. Gratitude is not about timing.
Which sounds a bit odd at first, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Because we usually think, okay, gratitude comes after. You cross the finish line, solve the problem, then you feel grateful.
It's conventional wisdom, yeah.
But this sermon asks, what if the real magic, the true power of gratitude, happens way earlier? What if it's woven into the journey itself?
That's a great place to start because, this whole concept of timing, it really dictates so much of our lives, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Schedules, opportunities.
Right. Seizing the moment, knowing when to wait, finding that perfect time to make a move or invest or even just speak up. We're kind of conditioned to think that way.
Oh, we are.
And maybe without even noticing, we apply that same logic, that sort of strategic timing to gratitude. We find ourselves thinking, okay, I'll be really, truly grateful when
I get the job.
Exactly. Or when I'm finally healthy again, or when the kids are settled, or, when I hit that financial target. It's like we set up these mental prerequisites.
A finish line for feeling thankful.
Precisely. We tie it to a future outcome, often one that has to be just right, just perfect.
And look, on one level, that makes sense. Celebrate when you win, right? When you have the proof.
Yeah.
But what if waiting for that perfect moment, that confirmed win, actually means you miss out? Or worse, you forfeit the whole thing. This anecdote from the sermon, it really hammered this home for me. It's about a lottery winner in the U.S.
Right, the Mega Millions example.
Yeah, and we're not talking small winnings. This is life-changing money, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions, way beyond typical lottery prizes here in Korea.
Unimaginable wealth, really. So the sermon describes this person, they buy a ticket, maybe just randomly, and bam, they hit the jackpot.
An incredible luck.
Totally. The money is theirs, it's secured, confirmed, a massive blessing just sitting there. But here's the twist, and it's honestly so relatable.
The busyness.
Exactly. This person is just swamped, work demands, childcare, maybe looking after parents. It's just the daily grind,
We all know that feeling.
So facing the hassle of actually claiming this huge prize, they put it off. They think, it's won, it's safe, the money's not going anywhere, I'll deal with it when things calm down. What's the rush?
Makes logical sense, in a way. Misguided, but logical.
But daily life just keeps overwhelming them.
And what happens next in the sermon's telling is just gut-wrenching. A month passes, then another, maybe several.
Still too busy, still putting it off. That ticket, that promise of a completely different life just sits there, unclaimed.
And then finally, they get around to it. They decide, okay, today is the day. They go to claim their winnings and...
They find out the claim period has expired.
Oh, no.
Yeah. In the U.S., these things have deadlines, sometimes months, sometimes a year, but they do expire. And this person missed it. The prize is forfeited. Gone.
That winning ticket is now worthless. Just paper.
Can you even imagine the shock, the regret, all that potential, all that security just evaporated because of delayed action?
It's almost painful to think about.
It really is. And the sermon uses this not just as a story about money, but as a powerful metaphor.
Right. It's about something bigger.
The benefit, the blessing, the opportunity, it was real, it was secured, it was right there. But the act of receiving it, of engaging with it, was neglected. It timed out.
The window closed.
And what's so fascinating, and maybe a bit scary, is thinking about how easily we might do that in other areas. Missing out on something profound, something already available to us just because we're waiting.
Waiting for the right time.
Which brings us right back to the core question. Is gratitude like that? Can you time out on gratitude? Can its power be diminished if you don't claim it or express it, in the right moments, not just at the very end?
Do we unknowingly forfeit the fullness of a blessing by delaying our thanks until everything feels complete?
The sermon strongly suggests that, yes, the value of the win, the blessing, can be lost, not because of anything external, but because we failed to claim it, to acknowledge it in time.
And it's exactly this idea, something timing out, a blessing lost to delay, that the sermon tackles head-on with its central message. Gratitude is not about timing.
Yeah, it hits you, doesn't it? Because it kind of goes against our instincts?
It does. We feel like there should be a right moment for thanks. But this sermon says, wait a minute. Waiting for perfection for confirmation might actually make you miss the deepest kind of gratitude.
It's asking us to consider a different rhythm.
To really get into this, the sermon points us to a specific story in the Bible. It's in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 17, verses 11 to 19.
Okay.
It starts with Jesus traveling. He's heading from Galilee, his home base, really down towards Jerusalem, the big center, and ultimately where things will climax for him.
Right. But the route he takes is significant. The text says he passes between Samaria and Galilee.
Which doesn't sound like much, but you're saying it's important.
Hugely important, actually. If you connect this to the bigger picture, standard Jewish practice at the time was to avoid Samaria completely when traveling between Galilee and Judea.
Why was that?
Oh, there was deep-seated animosity. Long history. Jews viewed Samaritans as, religiously impure, ethnically mixed, almost like traitors to the faith. So most Jews would take a longer route east of the Jordan River just to bypass Samaria.
Added days to their trip just to avoid them.
Yes. So Jesus choosing to go through or between this region, this despised territory, it's a deliberate statement.
Yeah.
It shows his mission wasn't just for the insiders.
He's intentionally going to the margins.
Exactly. Engaging with the outcasts, challenging the prejudices of his day. It underlines his whole purpose.
Okay, so he's in this in-between zone, a place most people would avoid. And there, in a village, he encounters 10 men described as lepers.
Right. And leprosy in the Bible often covered a range of serious skin diseases, not just Hansen's disease as we know it. The key thing was it made them ritually unclean.
And social outcasts.
Completely. They had to live apart, often in these border zones, away from healthy people, no close contact allowed. The fact they're between Samaria and Galilee might even mean they were outcasts from both groups, doubly marginalized.
Wow, so they couldn't even get close to Jesus.
No, they had to keep their distance.
Yeah.
So when they see him, they shout. From afar, Luke says. They cry out, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us."
Desperate, just hoping to be heard.
Absolutely. And Jesus hears them. His response in verse 14 is really interesting. He doesn't immediately heal them in a visible way. He just gives them a command.
What does he say?
He says, "Go, show yourselves to the priests."
To the priests. Why? And why before they're healed? That seems odd.
It does seem odd at first glance, but it's rooted in the Old Testament law, in Leviticus. Chapters 13 and 14 lay out the rules for skin diseases.
Go ahead.
If someone thought they were healed, they had to go to a priest. The priest acted like a public health official almost. They examined the person to confirm the healing and declare them ritually clean.
So it wasn't just a religious thing, it was practical.
Very practical. That priest's declaration was the official ticket back into society, back to family, work, community life. Without it, even if you felt better, you were still considered unclean, still an outcast.
I see.
So Jesus' command, "Go show yourselves to the priests," before they saw any change, it demanded a huge act of faith. They had to start walking, obeying his word, trusting the healing would happen along the way.
They had to act on the promise before seeing the result.
Precisely. Put one foot in front of the other, based purely on his word.
And then what happens? This is the incredible part, right?
It really is. The sermon highlights verse 14b. And as they went, they were cleansed.
As they went, not after they arrive.
Exactly. Think about that timing. They didn't get healed and then decide, okay, now we'll go see the priests. Nope. The healing occurred while they were moving, while they were obeying.
Faith and action, completely intertwined. The blessing was in the journey of obedience, not just at the destination.
Beautifully put. The healing was released along the path.
But then the story takes a turn, one that, as the sermon pointed out, really challenges our whole idea of gratitude.
Yes, the unexpected twist. Luke 17, verses 15 and 16. But one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back.
Just 1 out of 10.
Just one. And Luke makes a point of telling us who he was. He was a Samaritan.
The ultimate outsider, even among these outcasts.
Right. So the Samaritan sees he's healed, and immediately he stops heading towards the priests. He turns around.
He interrupts the process Jesus told them to follow.
He does. From a strict procedural point of view, you could say he was being disobedient, or at least incomplete.
Oh.
He wasn't going to get that official clean certificate from the priests, which he needed for full social reintegration, especially into Jewish society.
So why did he turn back?
He turns back, glorifying God loudly, finds Jesus, throws himself at his feet, and thanks him profoundly, immediately.
He prioritized gratitude to the source over completing the required steps.
Exactly. And remember, he's a Samaritan returning to thank a Jewish teacher. That breaks down huge cultural and religious barriers right there. It's remarkable.
So it wasn't just physical healing for him.
The sermon suggests something deeper happened. A spiritual healing. An instant recognition of the divine power at work that just overwhelmed everything else. He valued that immediate connection, that expression of thanks, more than the social approval or the official paperwork.
He risked not being fully accepted back into society just to say thank you right away.
That's the implication. He chose that raw, immediate spiritual response.
So now you have this stark contrast. 9 kept going, presumably to the priests. 1 came back.
And Jesus notices, he asks, doesn't he, verse 17, "Were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9?
You can almost hear the sadness in his voice.
The sense of disappointment, yeah.
Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner? He specifically calls attention to the fact that the one who returned was the outsider.
So what about the 9? What kind of gratitude did they represent, according to the sermon? The sermon suggests they were focused on the procedure. They were heading towards getting that official confirmation, the completion certificate. Their gratitude, if it came, would likely be after that. After everything was verified, wrapped up.
The confirmation gratitude you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Or outcome gratitude. Thankfulness triggered by a finalized, successful result validated by the system.
And the problem with that is?
The sermon argues they missed something vital. They missed the chance for that immediate, heartfelt acknowledgement of the source while the blessing was happening. By waiting for the end, they might have received the physical benefit, but they lost the heart of gratitude, that relational connection in the moment.
Their gratitude was tied to the event's completion, not the source itself during the process.
Right. It was potentially more transactional. They got the healing, but missed a deeper encounter.
But for the one who came back, the Samaritan, Jesus has very different words. What does he say to him?
He tells him, verse 19, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you well." Or, in some powerful translations, "Your faith has saved you."
Saved you. That sounds like more than just physical healing.
Oh, absolutely. This is where the sermon really dives deep. The Greek word for made you well or saved you is sozo.
Sozo.
Yes, sozo. It's a rich word in the New Testament. It can mean physical healing, yes, but it also means deliverance, spiritual salvation, being made whole. Complete restoration.
So Jesus is saying this man received something more than just clear skin.
The sermon argues forcefully, yes, that Jesus valued this process gratitude, this immediate faith-filled response during the journey, more highly than just following the rules to completion.
Even though Jesus himself told them to go to the priests.
That's the fascinating tension. Why praise the one who technically didn't finish the instruction? It suggests the Samaritan's faith wasn't just that he would be healed, but a deeper faith that recognized who Jesus was, the divine source, and responded to that reality instantly.
His gratitude wasn't waiting for the official sign-off.
No, it wasn't based on the finalized outcome. Remember, legally, he's still uncertified. It was based on the transformative power he experienced right then and there, an immediate bow to the source of grace.
He chose the relationship over the ritual?
And Jesus affirmed that choice, suggesting that kind of faith, that kind of gratitude leads to a deeper wholeness, a sozo. It points to a meaning of gratitude that's far more profound than just saying thanks after the fact.
Okay, so pulling this all together, this story, the sermon's take on it, what does it really mean for us living our lives today? It feels like a direct challenge.
It is. It suggests that gratitude isn't just a polite PS after we get what we want.
It's not just the thank you note you send after receiving the gift.
Right. It's about cultivating an awareness, recognizing the grace, the support, the power that's working right now, even when things are messy, unfinished, uncertain.
Even in the middle of the struggle.
Especially then. It shifts gratitude from being a reaction to a finished event to being an active, faith-filled posture we carry throughout the journey. It becomes less of a thing you feel at the end and more of a way you live along the way.
And we so often fall into the trap of the 9, don't we? without even realizing it.
I think we do. We wait for that completion certificate.
I'll be grateful when I graduate, when I get the promotion, when I'm finally over this illness, when the business hits its target, when this family drama is finally over.
All those when statements. And the sermon asks a really crucial question. What happens if that desired outcome doesn't happen, or it's delayed, or it looks different than you expected?
Does that mean there was nothing to be grateful for along the way?
Exactly. Do we then withhold all gratitude? Does that somehow nullify the strength we found, the support we received, the lessons we learned, the moments of grace during the process? It seems like a very fragile way to approach thankfulness.
Yeah, tying your whole capacity for gratitude to an uncertain future outcome feels risky.
Yeah.
Like building your house on sand.
It does, and that's where the power of process gratitude, or faith gratitude, really shines. It's not dependent on the final score.
It's rooted in something deeper.
It's rooted in recognizing the ongoing nature of blessing, of support, of grace. It's acknowledging that good things, maybe even divine help, are present with you in the journey, not just waiting at the finish line.
So finding things to be grateful for even when it's tough.
Right. It's about seeing the strength you have today, the encouragement someone offered yesterday, the comfort available right now, even if the bigger problem isn't solved yet. It's not about pretending challenges don't exist.
No, it's about shifting your focus.
It's a perspective shift. Instead of waiting for the perfect outcome to trigger gratitude, you actively look for reasons to be grateful every day.
Yeah.
In small things, your breath, a conversation, an effort made.
And the sermon linked this directly to well-being, didn't it?
Yes, very powerfully. It used the example. Even if you're not wealthy, if you're grateful for every breath, for parents, for children, you live a happier life than someone who has everything but no gratitude.
That really hits home. It suggests gratitude itself creates a kind of inner wealth, regardless of external circumstances.
It fosters resilience. It allows you to find moments of joy even when things are hard, rather than constantly deferring happiness to some future when, appreciating the gift of being alive now.
And it feels very relevant that this sermon was given on Barley Harvest Thanksgiving Sunday, which you said is mid-year, around July in 2025.
Yes.
That's a point where, for most of us, our big goals for the year are still definitely in process. Nothing's fully harvested yet.
Exactly. It's the perfect time for this message. That mid-year point, like the Barley Harvest Festival, isn't about celebrating the final stored grain. It's about acknowledging the growth so far.
The journey to get there.
The sustenance received, the grace that brought you to this point, the effort expended. It's gratitude for the process, the planting, the watering, the tending, not just the final yield.
So it challenges us right here, midstream, to look around and see what we can be thankful for now, not just what we hope for later.
Even in difficulty, there might be unexpected support. In uncertainty, maybe moments of clarity. In sheer effort, there's progress, even if slow. Recognizing those things.
So the challenge to you listening right now, what stands out about this idea? Gratitude not being about timing. Does it resonate?
Where might you be putting gratitude on hold, waiting for that completion certificate?
Are you waiting for the perfect job, the perfect health, the perfect relationship before you allow yourself to feel truly thankful?
Can you find something in the now, in the midst of the struggle, the effort, the day-to-day?
Because the story makes it pretty clear, doesn't it? If gratitude only comes at the perfectly polished end, we risk missing countless blessings along the way. We risk forfeiting something precious, like that lottery winner. It needs to be an active, ongoing practice. And that really brings us towards the end of this deep dive. The core idea we've explored is that gratitude finds its deepest roots, its greatest power, its connection to faith, when it's alive during the process.
Not just tacked on afterwards.
It's about finding thankfulness in the motion, acknowledging the source even when the path ahead isn't fully clear, embracing the present moment.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. If your gratitude is solely tied to outcomes, what happens when those outcomes disappoint? When things don't work out as hoped?
Does your wellspring of gratitude just dry up?
Does your sense of hope, your connection to strength, vanish with it? Remember the Samaritan. His gratitude wasn't just about getting healed. Jesus said his faith saved him, made him whole sozo. That suggests a wholeness beyond just the physical fix.
A deeper state of being.
Perhaps true gratitude isn't just about what you get, but about who you become when you actively, consistently acknowledge the source of all good things, whatever your circumstances, whatever the final destination looks like. It's about cultivating that appreciative heart right now.
It's a way of living, really. So maybe this week, take a moment to reflect on your own patterns of gratitude. What are you perhaps waiting to be thankful for? What ongoing blessings might you be overlooking? Try embracing this idea of process gratitude.
Find those moments, even small ones.
In the challenges, the routines, the small steps forward, maybe even to the difficult stretches. Thank you for joining us today on this deep dive, exploring gratitude beyond the finish line.
We hope it's given you something valuable to think about.
Hopefully leaving you better informed, maybe more present, and perhaps, just perhaps, a little more grateful for this very moment.